They said I was a burden, that I drained the family's energy. I believed them until I moved out. Months later, I got calls. Not because they missed me, because everything started falling apart. Turns out, I was the glue. And now I've learned not to return where I'm not respected. I don't remember the exact moment my family decided I was too much, but I remember the first time they said it out loud. It was during one of those holiday fights, Thanksgiving, I think, with the table cluttered with half-eaten turkey and cranberry sauce, the air thick with tension. My mom, exasperated, her hands gripping the edge of the table, muttered, "You just drain the energy out of everyone, Sarah." It wasn't shouted. It wasn't even directed at me with eye contact. But it landed like a slap, sharp and cold. What hurt more was the silence that followed. My brother, Jake, nodded faintly, his eyes on his plate. My dad sighed, long and heavy, like he was agreeing without words. My older sister, Emily, just kept scrolling on her phone, her face blank. No one disagreed. No one said, "That's not true." It wasn't a heat of the moment jab. It was a belief, spoken aloud, and it had been there for years, waiting to surface. I was 16 then, standing in the doorway between the dining room and the kitchen, holding a pitcher of water I'd gone to refill. I froze, my hands trembling around the glass, my throat tight. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I absorbed it like I always did. If your family tells you who you are long enough, you start to believe them. And I believed I was the problem. I wasn't loud or rebellious. I didn't demand attention or throw tantrums. But I was present. Too present, maybe? I noticed things others didn't, the way Mom's shoulders tensed when Dad was late, the way Jake's jokes got sharper when he was stressed, the way Emily hid her sadness behind her phone. I asked questions nobody wanted to answer. "Are you okay? Why don't we talk about this?" I tried to bridge the gaps in a family that preferred to ignore them. And in a house where emotions were either buried or exploded, that made me the odd one out. They called me the sensitive one, but it wasn't a compliment. It came with an edge, a smirk, a roll of the eyes. When Jake snapped, Mom would hug him, say he was going through something. When Emily cried, Dad would sit her down, listen, promise to fix whatever was wrong. But when I got upset, when I dared to show I was hurting, I got sighs. Eye rolls. "Sarah, don't make it a big deal." My needs weren't big, but they were always too much. So I learned to shrink. I stopped saying what I felt. I stopped asking for what I needed. Instead, I became the fixer. The one who smoothed things over when Jake and Dad argued. The one who made Mom laugh when she was stressed. The one who listened to Emily's late-night rants and never told her secrets. I apologized first, even when I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I anticipated everyone's moods, tiptoed around their triggers, cleaned up their messes, literal and emotional. I was the glue, holding the fragile pieces of our family together. But no one noticed. Not really. They didn't see the weight I carried because I carried it so quietly. By the time I was in my early 20s, I'd perfected the art of being invisible. I was still living at home, working a part-time job at a bookstore while taking community college classes. Our house was a pressure cooker, Dad's long hours at the factory, Mom's stress over bills, Jake's aimless post-college drift, Emily's endless string of bad relationships. Everyone was dealing with something, and somehow I became the one who kept it from boiling over. I'd wake up early to make coffee before Mom's shift, knowing she'd snap if she had to do it herself. I'd talk Jake down when he got into it with Dad over money or his lack of direction. I'd sit with Emily on the porch, listening to her dissect her latest breakup even when I had a paper due the next day. I didn't do it for praise, I did it because it felt like my role. If I didn't, who would? But the cost was high. I was exhausted, not just physically but in a bone-deep way I couldn't explain. I'd lie awake at night, replaying conversations, wondering why I always felt like I was apologizing for existing. I stopped writing, something I'd loved since I was a kid. I stopped calling friends because I didn't have the energy to be on. I stopped dreaming about what I wanted because what I wanted didn't seem to matter. The breaking point came when I was 23. It was another family dinner, this time for Emily's birthday. The house was loud, chaotic, everyone talking over each other. Jake was complaining about his dead-end job, Mom was stressed about a leak in the roof, Dad was quiet, probably thinking about work. I'd spent the day baking Emily's favorite cake, even though I'd had to stay up late to finish a work project. I didn't mind, at least, I told myself I didn't. But then Jake made a comment, casual, tossed out like it was nothing. "Sarah's always so intense, you know? Like, chill out, it's just a birthday." Everyone laughed, even Emily, who had stayed up for. I felt my face burn, my chest tighten. I wanted to scream that I wasn't intense, I was just trying to make things nice, to make them happy. But I didn't. I smiled, cut the cake, and cleaned up afterward while they all went to watch TV. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, and realized I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep being the one who held everything together while being told I was the one breaking it apart. I started looking for apartments the next day. Leaving wasn't dramatic. I didn't storm out or make a speech. I found a small one-bedroom place in a rundown building with creaky floors and thin walls. I packed my things quietly, told my family I was moving out for a change. Mom looked surprised but didn't argue. Dad nodded like it made sense. Jake shrugged. Emily said, "Good for you," but her voice was distracted, already somewhere else. The first night in my apartment, I cried. Not from relief or empowerment, but from grief. It felt like I'd failed, like I'd confirmed everything they thought about me. That I was too much, too sensitive, too draining to be part of the family. I lay on my second-hand mattress, listening to the neighbors vacuum at midnight, and wondered if I'd made a mistake. The silence of living alone was terrifying at first. No arguments to mediate, no moods to navigate, no messes to clean up but my own. I kept waiting for the chaos to creep back in, but it didn't. Instead, something else started to happen. I began to notice myself. Not the version of me my family saw, but the real one. I started sleeping through the night, my body no longer braced for the next crisis. I ate meals slowly, savoring the taste instead of rushing to clean the kitchen. I laughed at sitcoms, real laughs, not the polite ones I used to fake. I took long walks in the park near my apartment, noticing the way the leaves changed with the seasons, something I'd never had time to see before. I started journaling, not to process pain, but to explore who I was when no one was watching. I wrote about small things, how the morning light hit my coffee mug, how it felt to buy a plant and keep it alive. I wrote about bigger things, too, what I wanted from life, what scared me, what made me hopeful. For the first time, I was listening to myself, and it felt like meeting a stranger I'd known forever. A friend from work, Maya, came over one evening. We drank cheap wine and talked about nothing important. As she left, she hugged me and said, "You seem lighter. Like you're not carrying the world anymore." Her words stuck with me. I hadn't realized how heavy the load had been until I set it down. I got a new job, too, a full-time role at a nonprofit that helped organize community events. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt meaningful, like I was building something instead of just holding things together. I started writing again, short stories and poems, things I hadn't touched since high school. I shared them with Maya, then with a small online writing group. People liked them. Not because I was fixing anything for them, but because they saw something in me I was just starting to see myself. 3 months after I moved out, the calls started. The first call was from Mom. Her voice was casual at first, asking how I was, but it quickly shifted. "Jake's been so lazy lately," she said. "He won't help with anything around the house. It's like no one listens to me anymore." She sounded tired, frayed, like she was holding something together and it wasn't working. A week later, Dad called. He wasn't one for long conversations, so I knew something was up. "Things are tense here," he said. "Your mom and Jake are always at each other's throats. Emily's checked out. I don't know what's going on." He paused, then added, "It's not the same without you." Then Emily. She called late one night, her voice thick with tears. "I don't know who to talk to anymore," she said. "It's like everyone's fighting and I'm stuck in the middle. You always made things feel stable, you know? Even when it was a mess." Each call was the same. They'd start with a vague, "How are you?" then pivot to what was falling apart. The dishwasher broke and no one figured out how to get it fixed. Jake stopped doing his chores, leaving Mom to pick up the slack. Emily and Dad argued over her staying out too late. The house felt like a pressure cooker again, but this time there was no one to release the valve. They didn't say they missed me, not really. They missed what I did. The way I smoothed over arguments, anticipated needs, kept the peace. They missed the glue. It hit me then. I hadn't been the burden. I'd been the balance. All those years I'd spent shrinking, apologizing, believing I was too much, I'd been the one holding the family together. I wasn't draining their energy, I was giving it, pouring myself into their cracks to keep them from breaking apart. But they hadn't seen it. And they still didn't. I listened to their calls, gave short, kind responses. "That sounds tough," I'd say, or "I'm sure you'll figure it out." But I didn't offer to fix it. I didn't suggest coming over. I didn't slip back into the role I'd played for so long. Because once you see the truth, really see it, it's hard to go back. Last month, Dad called again. His voice was softer this time, less guarded. "We should start fresh," he said. "I miss having you around. The house, it's not the same without you." It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever get from him. For a moment, I felt the old pull, the instinct to say yes, to go back, to fix things. But I didn't. I thanked him, told him I was doing well. "I love you all," I said, "but I'm finally learning to love myself, too." He was quiet for a long time, then said, "You always did see things the rest of us missed." That was the moment I knew I'd made the right choice. Not just to leave, but to stay gone. To build a life where I wasn't defined by what I could do for others, but by who I was when I was free to be myself. Families tell stories about you. The sensitive one. The dramatic one. The burden. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your life shrinking to fit those stories. I did for years. But walking away wasn't about bitterness or revenge. It was about clarity, about seeing the difference between being needed and being valued. I don't go where I'm not respected anymore. Not even for family. And in that choice, I found something stronger than glue, myself.